If you ask someone on the street what year the Roman Empire fell, you would most likely be told the year 476 AD. After 476, no Roman emperor would rule from a post in Italy again, and due to that, many historians label this as the end of the Roman Empire. But what if I told you that nearly 1,000 years after 476 AD, there were people that called themselves Romans and carried on the mantle of the Eternal City, but in Constantinople in the east? That a mere 40 years before Christopher Columbus would land in the New World, that the Roman Empire would still be around. You would think I was crazy, right? Well, this is actually true, and while they are commonly called the Byzantines now, during their time, they presented themselves and were seen by others as Romans. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the fall of Constantinople and the collapse of the last remnant of the Roman Empire in 1453. The Byzantine Empire gets its start in 285 AD when Diocletian splits the empire into two halves, the Eastern and Western Roman Empire. After the Civil War, Roman Emperor Constantine the Great rebuilds the city of Byzantium and names the city Constantinople, which then becomes the new capital of the Eastern Roman Empire. The Eastern Roman Empire was also much more wealthier and prosperous than its Western counterpart. In the East, Greek was more prevalent both culturally and linguistically compared to Latin, and Christianity was adopted quicker in the East than in the West. And even though the Western Roman Empire fell under barbarian control in 476 AD, the Eastern Roman Empire was still one of the most dominant forces in the world. Things began to peak and decline for the Eastern Romans under the reign of Justinian, when the East was struck with a devastating plague, and the costly Gothic wars put an immense strain on the empire. Though Justinian reconquered Italy and parts of North Africa in 554 BC, the Eastern Romans slowly began to lose control. After a few decades, the Lombards invade and are able to conquer large parts of Italy as it was left decimated, depopulated, and open for the taking. A century later, the Romans lost control of most of Greece, Dalmatia, Thrace, and Macedonia, and even though the Gothic Wars gave Justinian and the Eastern Romans short term success and prestige, the wars drained the resources of the Eastern Roman Empire immensely. For much of its history, since the city's foundation in 330 AD, Constantinople had been a fortress and practically unconquerable, though it had been besieged numerous times. This changed in 1204 during the Fourth Crusade, when the city was conquered and turned into a Latin state by Crusaders from the West, where they ruled for a little over half a century. During this time, countless pieces of art, literature, and history were destroyed, and roughly a third of the city's residents were homeless. Though the Eastern Romans regained control of Constantinople in 1262 AD, they never fully reconquered all the territory they lost to the Crusaders during that period. The Eastern Roman Empire was left in even worse shape after the Mongol invasions in the second half of the 13th century. The invasions caused the Byzantines to break their alliance with the Seljuk Turks, which diminished their power in Anatolia and left a power vacuum in the region. Osman I was initially the ruler of a small Turkic principality in Anatolia, but through strategic alliances, conquest, and Byzantine incompetence, he was able to forge an impressive domain in the beginning of the 14th century. More people and mercenaries began to flock to Osman's side because of his political shrewdness, dominance on the battlefield, and tolerance of ethnic and religious differences. After Osman's death, his son continued to expand his father's domain by expanding into southeastern Europe and the Balkans. These Turkic people would be called Ottomans after their founder Osman. As the Eastern Romans continued to lose territory to the Ottomans, their power and prestige declined as well. The decline was amplified between 1346 and 1349 when the Black Death struck Constantinople particularly hard, killing nearly half of the city's residents. By the end of the 14th century, the Ottomans had conquered and controlled much of the Balkans and Anatolia. By 1450, the Eastern Roman Empire was exhausted and had shrunk to a few square kilometers out of the city of Constantinople itself. The Prince's Islands in the Sea of Marmara and the Peloponnese with its cultural center at Mistras. Seeing blood in the water, Ottoman Sultan Mehmet II set his sights on Constantinople. He hired a Hungarian engineer who forged the largest cannon in the world which he would use to shred the walls of Constantinople apart. He also used Serbian miners to dig tunnels underneath the walls and carried his ships overland to attack the city from various and unpredictable locations. But it would be an unlocked gate on May 29th, 1453, that allowed Mehmet and the Ottomans to conquer Constantinople, marking the end of the Roman Empire but the beginning of a new, prosperous period for Anatolia and Constantinople. Thank you.